So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of here myself. Michael, I'm going to play the intro. As soon as the intro is done, you can go ahead and start the show.
All right. Thanks, brother.
So let me get out of here. And let me get rid of this. Hide non-video participants. Go in here. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Here. Yeah, it should be working. Oh, yeah, there it is. Okay, here we go. Okay. Boom.
We enter the physical, and upon arrival, our sight is taken. Our knowing becomes replaced with questions. These questions hold secrets. These questions are holy. We must not resist the lover, or the friend, the mother, or the enemy. For in truth, all are messengers. The splendor of love and the bitter taste of suffering become our lessons. Tracking our tears, we forge a path back into the invisible. Alchemists, swimming in our brokenness, waiting for the scent of our spirit to awaken our remembrance. If the purpose of pain is to lead us back to love, then pain is sublime. It's so good to be with you today, Gabriella. And I'm thankful to Jade and Ty and Todd. We had a little technical difficulties, so that's why we're starting. I don't want to say late. We're starting right on time. This is the time we were meant to come together. But I wanted to start with telling the story of how our hearts collided a few years ago. And I shared that with you about a week ago on a phone call. And a lot of people know my story, but some don't. I started writing when I was in fourth grade, and I wrote from fourth grade till I was 18 years old. And then I ended up suffering from writer's block for nearly a decade. That lifted and the poetry started streaming in, but I had never recited yet. I was just putting the poetry under my bed. So one day, my family and I decided to go to Sedona for a vacation. And we went to Sedona, and I got my cousins together and I said, let's all go to the Unity Church. Like, I love Unity churches. You know, they're real inclusive and everyone's kind. Like, let's just go and you know, just have an experience. So we went to Unity Church, and I met Dosi. She was sitting in front of me, and she turned around and said, I know you're not from around here. Where are you from? So I told her I'm from Southern California. And she said, I would love to invite you guys to someone's house tonight. We're having a get together, and a few people are going to be performing. And so we accepted the invitation, and we went that evening. And you were the very last person to share. And as I was sitting there, you were in all white, and you were accompanied with one instrumentalist. I believe they were playing the flute, the indigenous flute. And as I sat there, when you started to recite, I started crying uncontrollably. And my brother Israel whispered in my ear and said, what's going on? What's the matter with you? And I whispered to him, I have done this forever. And he's like, what? I said, I've done this. And in that moment, it was one of the first transrational experiences I've ever had. the vibrational frequency being transmitted out of you, I started seeing everyone, everything in motion, energy moving, color, everything just started to move in the room, and density started breaching dimension, I would say. And I was just staring at you and I couldn't stop crying, and I was like hyperventilating. When I left Sedona, I started reciting a couple weeks after that experience. And I've said this often. I call them key holders. I believe that all of us are destined to collide with certain souls, and those souls carry vibrational codes. You are one of my key holders, and every poem that has ever entered the physical out of my heart from the deepest dimension, there's a piece of Gabriella in every single poem. So it is such an honor to be here with you. I'm getting slightly emotional, but it's all joy and it's all love. So thank you for being here. It's one of the deepest honors of my life. And to start, I went through your beautiful website, and this is a quote from you that I wanted to start with to ask my first question. The real nature of mysticism is wholly practical and scientific. Poets, prophets, saints, and sages are scientists, light surgeons, harvesting universal wisdom directly from inner worlds of luminosity and grace. Our full humanity is an ontological organ of light, attuned intimately with cosmic biorhythms and flow patterns. When I read that last night, I already knew this. I know that you are living and breathing in the physical, but from the timeless state. I experienced it when I first met you. And when I read that, I know that this is eternal, an eternal knowing. And I would love to understand when it was first that you merged and experienced the eternal, and when the light of the poetry started to manifest and enter through you.
Well, first of all, love to you, dear one. What a beauty you are. I so appreciate meeting you and greeting you again. And I love your poetry. You know, I really love it, of course. Yeah. So what you read, and you just asked me a couple questions that we could speak for hours on. So I just see what comes through right now. Yeah, I have a passion to share with people the authenticity and naturalness of sacred passion and universal sacred passion. That is who we are and who we're embodying, and wisdom and beauty with a capital B. So I know you are attuned to this. And it's a simple affair. When I started out with Rumi decades ago, and I'd had many experiences since childhood, which I can honestly say to you, kept something open for me that was really necessary to be open all the way through, because I had a lot of very intense experiences in my embodiment, as we do, but even as a child and adolescent, and then later, long before I met so-called Rumi, yeah? So it taught me many things, but what it taught me the most was to have heart confidence. A vaster playground, for sure, that is completely interdimensional and available all the time. Every leaf, every blade of grass knows this. It's true. So that's the good news, the simplicity of it, right? The directness of it. And as a child, I would have these direct visions when there were extreme storms in my life. And I would hear what I called then the voice of God. I never spoke to anybody about this. Go down to the water. So I did. And yeah, I had a lot of nourishment from these other levels constantly. So it was a living, embodied experience for me. And again, the naturalness of the entire affair, like being nurtured and being raised on many dimensions simultaneously. Yeah. And in the midst of that, I had incredible experiences, which I then forgot for 20 to 25 years later, until I had done enough self-healing myself regarding certain things. And then there was this moment, which I'm going to say because it relates to your lovely poem that you just shared, and the beauty of pain, which is not about suffering in the way we've been told, but is a portal. So the wound is a portal, as you know, and I've certainly experienced that a lot. And there came a point where I just simply asked Spirit, oh, I'd really like to receive now. This was way later, as I said, maybe it was around harmonic convergence, 87. I'd like to know my soul pattern and purpose in this moment for the next cycle. And I just asked. And then I went through this whole experience because it is direct. And I saw this figure of myself as a child, and I had such compassion rise. So I reached out to touch the wounds of this child, and my etheric fingers came out, and they went right through the wound. They were able to touch the wound with compassion, which is the whole key, as a key holder, right, for all of us. And then to go right through the wound to the divine child, whom I saw and recognized, this is the one I saw at the water when I was young. This is the one. Looks like a Persian angel. I didn't know that then. I just had these experiences. I know. So anyway, that kind of thing taught me, okay, this is not random, first of all. This is good news for everybody that we have wonderful interdimensional depths and wisdom available and support, and that the pain we go through also is not unnecessary, and we don't have to grovel in it, of course, but when it's a searing pain, it etches the depths of the soul directly, and it's clears out spaciousness and for new growth. So this is a wonderful thing. And there's a whole alchemical process, as you know, that goes on with all this. And it's ongoing. And there's no right or wrong. Yeah. So when you meet the divine child, then I suddenly had memory recall of when I was a child and certain incidents which address the question you asked me. Science of mystical science, how is it practical? You bet it's practical, because I had this flooding in of memories as a child and adolescent and all the way through, of where it was really practical. Like, I just give one example from when I was in high school and I'd been out on the grounds, acreage, playing tennis. I came back, the school had been evacuated. Everything went into slow motion for me. I approached the crowd, but I stepped out of my physical body and I saw a light screen. I called it later molecular light screen, higher harmonics, come between my physical body and the crowd. And then I saw these rays of light come onto the screen and pulse and light up the screen as a living transmission. And then this was only a few minutes, right? These are timeless and very precise. And then it was complete. The screen disappeared. I walked back into my body, and suddenly there was peace, because before it was like a lynch mob. There was something that had happened at the school that I wasn't even aware of consciously and didn't need to be. But now this was really something to me, restoring peace in crowds. How does this happen? Peace and love. I vote for that. I want to give myself to this awareness and knowingness and practice and responsibility that's already encoded within us. So I had, of course, other examples of that, including one very practical time at a doctor's office in Santa Fe where I had a broken leg and nurses were on either side, and this doctor was really stressed. He was later fired. But everybody was in fear in the room. So where there's fear present again, and he kept shrieking, lift your toes so I could set your leg. And I couldn't lift them. I had no feeling in them. And so this light beam came out of my third eye. I called it a Turea light beam, a higher light beam. And it came down to my foot. And just like a tourmaline crystal, this is very natural, you know, the striations, the lines in a tourmaline crystal that focus the light and direct it precisely. So that's what happened. And each of those lines landed on my toes and then pulsed up again, raising my toes into position so he could set my leg without a steel pin. Now, this is noteworthy. You know, I mean, these are very practical examples. Of course, there are many in relationship with people, in relationship with our environment, the beauty everywhere, the, you know, diving under into the depths of interiority, into a seemingly hidden reservoir that is universal and always available. But we can do this, and we're here to do this. And we can really do it.
Yes. I just, everything you say is poetry, everything that comes through you. I know what you mean about how it becomes practical. We were 10 minutes or so late for this live because of some tech difficulties. And I was so calm and patient because the message I received inside of myself was nothing on earth was able to stop this collision, this meeting between you and Gabriella. Right? Like I was sent to Sedona. Yeah. Dosi moved in front of me. Like, right. So to me, once you start to understand that everything manifests when it's meant to, there is a sacred patience or a knowing, I would call it, that arises. You know, something that just as I was listening to you speak, what was coming to me was we're living on this planet and there's a multitude of vibrational frequencies. And even though we see all of the physical forms, all beings in front of us, everyone living within different dimensions. When I'm listening to you speak, and I've experienced, I know some of my friends, you talked about the harmonic convergence. My friend Kamara, you know, talks about that, and my brother Todd, who you just met, and Morgan. And I just think of all of these people that have been doing this, that have known about all of this. When you look out at the macro evolution and the light of the spirit entering the form in such a great magnitude, one that I don't know if we've seen, if it's unprecedented. What does it feel like being you, who basically you're watching a bunch of flowers blossom from the ground right now, and you've been living and breathing there. What is your experience right now with the world watching the manifestation of pure consciousness enter the physical?
Sweet. Yeah, it's quite a celebration right now. And of course, we see the chaos. And but there's such a wisdom in chaos. And that was one thing that became very apparent to me. And I think that was addressed in the little quote you chose. But, you know, the birthing power. And I have had a chance to birth quite a few children. And I'm so grateful, naturally. And and you don't need to understand this, but there is a birthing process going on in this alchemical process. So, when you make a spagyric, like our friend Ilip here does, where you take plant medicine, you take the plants apart, and you sort of trace to the root. That's what we've all been doing, and that's what people need to do. So anything that isn't supporting people right now in awareness, in entering into their deepest core of their soul, because that's what's being asked now, is for spirit, soul to be embodied here. Yeah. For not just a few sages and saints now, but for the collective. So, yeah, great teaching anywhere you look. But how it is for me now, I'm very grateful to have had the training from the beloved directly and the masters on the inner planes for a long time. And that doesn't mean that everything's easy, but it does give you an overview that is totally reliable in the sense of a knowingness that, hey, this is a very large orchestration that is very precise. We have a home and it is glory. Yeah. And we are preset, pre-coded for glory. We shine. We shine. So you have this knowingness coming present more and more among more people in every aspect of living, even though it shows up so chaotically. But it is working, this birthing process. And the Sufi whirling, of course, is a great example of a meditation that, exemplifies that with Rumi, that he was the originator of that. It was spontaneous for him. He didn't call it anything. He never wrote a line of poetry. It was all direct, surgical, Gnostic incision of the higher light through him that opened him and fountained out all these rubies of gnosis, direct knowing. That was then scribed down as an oral transmission by his students in the college in Konya in the 13th century. So here's a perfect demonstration, and by many other ones too, and their gifting and record of the living light as it broke them open, at the purposefulness of that, how to be with immensity and intensity at the core of our being. That is magnificent. That is not something to be contracting from, even though in birthing, as in now, collectively, there is a wisdom in the contraction. It's like an embrace, really, if you can see it that way, that allows the next phase of the birthing to come forth. It's like an advent of a greater birthing, a greater phase. So I think really being in the still point, and it deepens and sweetens this intimacy with Source and all creation. But the still point is very dynamic, like in the Sufi whirling. You stay in your innermost heart, core, merged with the beloved's presence and union. And then you begin to unfold from the center of this still point, right? Spontaneously. Every cell, every aspect of our DNA does this. In relaxation, it opens like a flower. So then you begin to unfold your wings and turn, and the whole of creation is turning, every cell in your body, trillions of them. And everyone and everything is orbiting around us. Yeah, in synchrony. In synchrony. So the still point is always there, and you're just like the point in the center, the sound and the dot, one thing alone, and the rider who mounts to ride. So this is the opportunity for people to turn within more deeply and to reconnect more deeply with nature and with the cosmos. And the cosmos is very passionate, as the beloved is, and with Source within, and to allow that undercurrent of great peace, unspeakable grace in the fields and the cities to come through us, breath within breath, and not obstruct. And this is a beauty. This is what mystic science really grants, is this beauty, this direct revelatory gifting awareness of this magnificent beauty and passion, unstoppable, uncontrived, irreversible, irresistible. Wow. So I call it the gifting circuit. Keep it simple, straight from source and back again. My first Rumi performance, it's very funny because I was not aware of this way back then, but maybe that's like 30 years ago, 35 something. And I was in a friend's dome in Maryland, and I was receiving Rumi in the pine grove outside. I love to work in nature, and that's where I've received Rumi and all these ones as best I can. And anyway, the day before, I went to bed and said, thank you, beloved, this is awesome. And this whole unfolding, like a theater production of Rumi, happened of 4 movements of consciousness. It is what I offer at Rumi's wedding. It has spontaneous changes, but pretty much the same. It works. And the end of it was announcing the 11:11 Stargate opening. So I didn't orchestrate that consciously. This was magnificent. And the first movement was at Hildegard de Bingen's Abbey Garden, and it was called Meeting of the Minds, and it was all these poets from all these time streams in the universe meeting together and playing Frisbee in the Garden of Origin. Now, that's actually really funny to me because it was so exuberant and it was so gifted spontaneously. And I even had this little Frisbee with, long streamers that I pretended to throw, from Rumi to Rilke and Rilke to Gabriella Mistral and on and on. It was very fun. And it went through, like the whole evening was these 4 movements, and they were sublime. And it taught me a lot, just to, again, we haven't mentioned that word yet, surrender. But yes, it's a simple thing, and it's much more fun than contracting and holding on. So I guess I just am in awe, which is also true and doesn't go away. And this is the mystical science of adoration and devotion.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. When you were just talking about one of the gifts for the present day experience that we are all going through collectively is we're being given the opportunity to go within. And what I see outside of myself is a lot of resistance, a lot of contraction collectively, because we haven't been in inner alignment with the still point for so long. And so when I look outside and I watch, I've come to find, and when you talk about surrender, that whatever experience is in front of me is what's meant for me. Whatever enters my field, whether it's joy or sadness, it's an experience that I'm meant to honor through the surrendering of my full being and letting that experience enter me, not hold, but to let it enter as a movement, as a sacred movement. I read, this is another, I only took a couple of pieces because I knew I knew that every time you would speak that I would have a question. But again, I just want to read this, and if something comes, it does. And if it doesn't, I just want to know what you felt when you posted this, because it's on your website. So I know that it means something to you. but it's an Egyptian quote. I am the cup of memory and dreams opening. I, the 1,000-petaled flower. This body is the book of all I remember. These are the bones of the living God. I am the air of eternity, where the living waters flow. I am the light entering unto fire, coming forth and shining through darkness.
Ah, beautiful. Thank you for speaking that. So this is, I just want to say a couple of things. You stop me because I do have these bowls that come through. Yeah, but this Egyptian text was written by a woman called Normandy Ellis, based on what was historically called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And she got activated, and these books, papyrus, to explore these Papyrus of Ani, and another one in particular. And her whole life changed. That's what happens a lot with this. So she rendered the whole thing, and what a magnificent gift. And the book is called Awakening Osiris by Normandy with an I on the end, Ellis, Ellis. You know, a couple of decades ago, at least, came out. And like Rumi, like Hafez, like Lala, like, you know, mystical Song of Songs in the Bible, they all carry different vibrational frequencies. And so everyone comes to the Mystic Love Feast. The Egyptian text is spectacular to me. And one of the reasons it is because they did not have a separation from heaven and earth and body and soul. Or so they loved the earth and they loved nature. And Osiris will choose to sit with fig trees for a long time. Yeah. So this is perfect. And not only that, the performative word. Now, this gets to the essence of it. And for decades, that's what my passion was, tracing language, the sacred passion of language back to origin through different ancient languages like Sanskrit, and many have come in now. But so in this case, the Egyptians were well aware of the word as a living word, the logos in Christian knowingness. Yeah, it's real. So it's a living light, higher vehicle of divine love and wisdom, harmony and peace. And they realized, actually, the Egyptians viewed the word vibrating and resonating through the living body of the god Osiris, which was a cosmic light pyramid through the stargaze. Now, there's a great deal of teaching with this, right? And so you can say something like unspeakable grace in the fields and the cities. Yeah, truth rides visibly through this world. Have you not seen it? Light shimmers in every blade of grass. Blue and gold fires leap from our pores. We walk under a sky of lapis. May we stand amazed in the presence of God. May we stand in the midst of celestial fire until our hearts are molten gold. May we walk everywhere on earth, radiant, complete. I am the word before its utterance. Beautiful. I am a child in the throat of God. What I know in my heart was given me. to say. Ah, wow. So throw down your hands and weep no more. The eye of creation is everywhere. Behold, the eye that holds you. You are crystal reflecting fire. In your own becoming, there is light enough to take you home. Go then, beautiful, blue-lidded daughter of dawn. Go and make of this world something beautiful. There's the Blue Lotus, and of course, very practical for all of us. Don't miss the event. Seize the opportunity to go within to your deepest core and ask the beloved to work you royally from a pure heart. And then the dimensional resonances will be open, which is called many things in different wisdom traditions, opening the visionary body of awareness, or in this case from the Egyptian text you offered on the Blue Lotus opening. That's us. I am the cup of memory and dreams revealed. Yeah. So those higher faculties and the wisdom and knowingness that comes directly through allowing ourselves to open to a greater magnitude of light that is natural and called forth for now, allow us to receive resolutions to what is going on the globe and beyond through our innermost core, which is a universal heart of awareness.
Yeah. Thank you. That very similar experience when you just recited for us. Just got that line in there when you said, you are the word before utterance.
I knew you would love that.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah.
So taking us back to first utterance, just this inexplicable mystery, which is so intimate within us and everything. Yeah.
I'm really curious, and this is just, I know that this, I again, just my experiences with the world, but hearing what your heart has to say about the gift of the mirror and the law of the mirror, the universal law. I would love to hear what your experience has been with the mirror, and when did everything disappear for you? When were you the only one left?
Nice. Well, that's you speaking, Michael, and I love it. I'm not sure I can answer it that way. I would say this. It's a movement. It's an essential movement. And in the movement, whatever is foreordained is delivered. So the mirror, on the one hand, and in mystical wisdom, there's a lot to say about these things. As above, so below. It's the Hermetic wisdom of that, the balancing of the scales in Sufi and other Gnostic knowingness. So the balancing of the still point and the amazing movement. And in the Dzogchen text, you see that wisdom beautifully expressed. We have to do many programs, Michael. We're going to have so much fun. But to me, I feel the beauty that is expressed so uniquely through each of these universal wisdom streams is such a gift, the uniqueness. So in the Dzogchen text, they knew this science. This is very ancient wisdom resurfacing now at this very perfect moment because we're the terma that was hidden and is being revealed. And it's really not even us, as you know, because you just asked that question about when did everything disappear. Well, and so I go back to the movement, this movement. I think I shared it with you on the phone. This is a Dzogchen quote about language, which I adore. And as a meditation, I've shared it with many people and they've had huge experiences. It just gets unrolled like a prayer mat. Yeah. Language, an essential movement. Speech that discloses the way toward freedom. The autopoetics of speech, inhabiting our primordial possibility. Wow. That's a lot to take in, but this, just to say for other people, bypasses the lower intellect. This is the heart enlightens the intellect. So the sacred wisdom and mystical knowing is so direct. And for me, when I was in high school, I think, somebody gave me a poem by Yeats, say, yeah. And the first line was sufficient. Forever. I went out to the hazelwood because a fire was in my head. Now that's an invitation, a divine invitation. And as Hafez says, no one can resist the divine calling card, a divine invitation. So that narrows down our choices to just two. We can come to God dressed for dancing or be carried into a ward. Resisting. So precious. Precious. Do you know how beautiful you are? This is not a day on any calendar. This day is conscious of itself. This day is a marriage. This day is a lover, bread and gentleness, more manifest than saying can say. So rub the beloved's cup across your forehead. This day is outside, living and dying. So that would be an arrival in this moment. The questions you ask are so wonderful. So now I've arrived at the answer because it's unlimited. It will keep going as it is. But the full circuit awareness of wholeness, I think before you mentioned wholeness, and this is about the neural anatomy of grace. That is the neural anatomy of our higher heart awareness, knowing our full resonance capacity, here now, embodied. So wholeness, and in the Tibetan text, that's what they speak of. Wholeness lost, wholeness returned. Wholeness lost, wholeness returned. Or Lala, this is the hide and seek game with the beloved. Hidden, revealed. Hidden, revealed. a movement, an eternal movement. Yeah. No answer, but stay in the openness. Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, really. Do you know, I just say this to you because years ago, decades ago, you know, before Rumi and many others, but I had this adventure with Rilke's poetry, Rilke, the German poet, and Sublime, and for 4 years at the same time as Martin Heidegger's work, Being and Time. But Heidegger had this book called What is Called Thinking, marvelous little book. And then he had this other book called On the Way to Language. And I just needed the title, but I did read the book. But see, it's right there, On the Way to Language. Beautiful. And this language, yeah, an essential movement. Knows it's self-regulatory. It's clear. Yeah. So we release our identity about control and everything. It's like into this streaming beauty, this sacred pouring.
Yeah. Thank you. You mentioned grace, and I feel that grace is something collectively that isn't really spoken about often. And I've always, when I talk to Israel, my brother, I always tell him, I feel like people don't talk about grace because you can only speak to it if you've experienced it or if you're in the movement of its opening.
Nice.
So I would really love to hear you speak about grace.
Oh. Mm. You know, in my experience, Michael, everything we've just shared is pure grace. It is from the unspoken, but it moves through the spoken into manifestation and back to source, like this full circuit of wholeness. And a particular quality in grace to open us dynamically, alchemically. So in certain respects, in my own unfolding, it definitely was the presence of the beloved, working directly on the ground of the soul. Gnostic incision, light surgery, yeah. And every cell, every atom is a prophet and a seer, alive, on fire with love's glory. Love's glory is no small thing. Last night, a great teacher went from door to door with a lamp. This is grace. He who is not to be found is the one I'm looking for. That one. Beyond wanting, beyond location, inside form. A flute says, how can I find that? And love plays. Love is the musician that plays and plays. Shams, I am a water bird flying into your sun. Look what good poetry can do. Untie the knot in the burlap sack and let the golden falcon out. Grace lives unseen and seen. The flower of what's true opens in a human face. Wow. Pure grace. So a medium, maybe, a higher light medium of divine love, wisdom, glory, peace, universal harmony. Actually, as a medium, that we breathe and receive nutrients of and open onto and are moved by and speak and share into being. So the alchemical fire of the beloved, yeah, pure presence working on the ground of the soul.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Profound.
This is
Yeah.
This is a dream conversation. I want to talk about Rumi's wedding, but I want one more. I feel like there's one more offering through your heart that I want to be expressed to everyone that's journeying with us. And for me, it is the beauty of the golden thread of the synchronicity.
Nice.
And I just want you, for me, how I described that experience for myself was once that invisible thread entered my field of awareness, I grabbed it and I haven't let go. And it's led me into a deeper dimension of myself before and with every breath. And so I would just like you to speak to that, if you could, please.
Thank you, Michael. You're such a beauty. So yeah, everybody will have a unique, I would imagine, experience of the golden thread, leading us home, breath within breath. For myself, I mean, the little Persian angel, when I was a kid and I would go out in nature, down to the water, crying, and I would see, I didn't know it was a Persian angel, but at one point dropped a filament of light down. And at that point, it was a silver one. And my arm reached out to receive it, and it stopped. And so there was this gap. Yeah. And then we continue. Yeah, it's beautiful. And then I was in some program, maybe in the 70s, and we had this very serious process. And then we were asked to go out for a silence break. And I saw, of course, I don't speak about these things, but I saw pictures in the sky of different incidents coming together and superimposing on one another in unity, and then disappearing into the great nothingness, Dharmakaya sky. And there was another one. We walked into a process and they asked everyone to go to the beach, your favorite beach. And everybody had all this stuff going on the beach, which is great. But I always had archetypal stuff. I didn't call it that. But so my beach, it was wide open and a Dharmakaya sky. And these three ovoid stones, large stones with ovoids, like a circle in the center that the water had carved naturally. Yeah. And they're lying on this beach. And then I see in the sky this golden needle with a golden thread coming across the sky. And it comes down, serpentines through the sky and circuits right through those three Trinity set ovoids, body, mind, speech, and all on the beach. Union, and disappeared. So in the Sufi knowing in particular, I've had a lot with the, sometimes called the longing circuit, but with the golden thread. And at some point now, there is a different knowingness and field dynamics and awareness that, yes, is global, but is so universal. The universal field is so available for everyone now that there is a transparency that comes through. And in the transparency, a panoramic awareness and a synthesis that has already synthesized itself regarding all these archetypal presences and beautiful giftings that have been gifted en route, like the golden needle. So, in Living Buddha Zen, this beautiful transmission by Lex Sixon, sit on your black safu as a living Buddha and be actively complete. There's that. There's Hafez, I am what has never been disarranged. Perfect. So, yeah, exactly. Just so. Thisness, suchness. Yeah. So the simplicity of grace right here, right now, in the openness of being, open dimensionality of being, in the unified field. So even the golden needle and the golden thread disappear. And they're still functioning as skillful means, always.
Thank you.
And I don't know anything, this, yeah. So, yeah. Now, can I just offer this little quatrain by Rumi? Yeah.
Yes, please.
Now, at last, I know that I know nothing. Ignorance on such a scale dazzles and frees the soul. Child wonder becomes our daily bread, broken for us each passing moment. To die in life is to become life. The wind of spirit stops skirting you and enters. Suddenly, all the roses are blooming in your skull. Yeah.
It's hard because every time you speak, it's so inspiring. I feel the energy, and so more comes. And a quote came in a couple of days ago. I was laying down and I heard, of all the things that I have craved, my heart now longs for only you.
Beautiful. See? Beautiful. Thank you, Michael. Gorgeous. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I knew this was going to happen. Our time was going to go fast because because being with you, I could do this forever. We do it forever. We are doing it forever. But I would love to speak about Rumi's wedding, especially because you and Vibrational Empowerment Network are collaborating because of, the circumstances in the world right now. It's going to be, I believe, the first time Rumi's wedding is going to be online.
Right.
Right. And usually it's live.
Yes.
I've seen it live. I think I told you that. So after I met you, I think 2 years later, my whole family, we went back to Sedona to experience Rumi's wedding. And so I would just love for you to talk about that, what it means to you, what it is, what the experience is. I'm going to make sure I put a link underneath in the video where people can participate and and they can get all the information about it. But I would love for you to speak about it.
Thank you, hon. Yeah. So it's the ways have been arranged. I mean, despite all my attempts to do otherwise and have another live, presentation in the way that I have, here's what showed up. And so I feel very grateful to be plummeted into the wisdom and support of these vibrational healing empowerment people and technology. And I feel very much this is what's being asked right now, to get it out more. So Rumi called it his wedding. What is Rumi's wedding? This is the day he left the planet in the 13th century, Jalaluddin Rumi, Maulana, into the arms of the beloved directly. So he called it his wedding, his union, his final union with the beloved, final as in ongoing. But yeah, so ever since then, in the 13th century, they've actually celebrated this, and they have another name for it. And I don't like to have to explain all these Arabic words or Farsi words, so I just keep it simple and call it Rumi's wedding. But it's a chance for all of us globally. It's an annual event that occurs, and the dancers in Konya, Turkey, from the Mevlevi order, and in so many places around the globe, people share this wisdom, honoring this beautiful universal being, which Rumi was. All in the 13th century, when that occurred, people from all wisdom traditions came to acknowledge and to honor his presence. They recognized universal wisdom and love, divine love in this being. So I celebrate, there's nothing gives me more joy, actually, than to share in this way with all of it. And from the beginning, it's 4 movements of consciousness with Rumi that actually work on the ground of the soul for all those listening, in this case also. And so just being receptive and present and joyfully alert that way, and allowing yourself to surrender to the transmission coming through. It's a higher light transmission. There'll probably be some other ones like Lala, a Bhakti feminine one from what was Kashmir, who's equally dynamic, but in a very different way than Rumi. And there may be other ones as well. Hafez, yeah. So it's a chance to gather together globally, in this case, to get it out more. It's really December 17th, but we're celebrating December 12th, which is a weekend, and it's also 12/12. And we're celebrating at 12/12 Mountain Standard Time here in Sedona. But I really invite people to link in and recognize that we are all linked together in this superb unity and blessing, and to really drink deeply. That's what I often see when I'm so-called up front and I'm watching people in Rumi's wedding. I call it drink, because I see the light coming in through their crowns and into their innermost heart. So we want everyone to drink deeply and be satisfied, to come to the mystic love feast and really celebrate a greater truth of why we're here, a greater love. And for all of us, myself also, to keep getting honed and refined, more honed, more refined in the wisdom of this knowing. So, all masters and dear ones, the one who makes our eyes so bright, has made love with us. The guest, the friend, the beloved, who makes our eyes so bright, has made love with us. Ground yourselves. Strip yourselves down to blind, loving silence. Stay there until you see you are gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. I will just say, yes, we have some wonderful musicians with us for Rumi's wedding. I would like to acknowledge Eric Zhang. Worked with him for a long time. Someone deeply steeped in the transmission of Rumi and other Middle Eastern music and wisdom. We'll be playing the oud and the Persian ney flutes and many other things, and singing vocals. He's a wonderful one. And also Ramananda will be with us. And he also has journeyed far and wide into wonderful Sufi and other wisdom streams, and met masters and had many experiences himself, and is a multi-instrumentalist, will be playing different instruments and also singing. And your presence. So thank you for your presence.
Oh, it's been such an honor to sit here with you. And what I was feeling and what I just experienced was this has been an experience of the holy stillness manifest through word and through heart. That's what you just shared with all of us. And I know you feel what I feel for you. I know you can feel it. In the presence of your light, everything makes sense to me. And yeah, so I love you, and I'm so grateful. And we're gonna attach the link on this video. I've experienced you live twice, and I've experienced the majesty that comes through and the substantial opening and anchoring of the timeless. So if it's in resonance, I assure everyone watching, if you're able to, this is an experience that changed my life forever. So I love you, Gabriella. Before I let you go, I just wanted to see if there's anything else you wanted to say. And also, I would like to offer people your website, because I've been on your website the last few days. The testimonials are beautiful. You have some amazing articles on there.
Oh, good.
Amazing. And I just feel like it would be really beautiful. So I know you're also between two, so I don't know what you would want to.
Thank you. That's true. Thank you, Michael. And just first of all, thank you. You are such a sweetheart. Thank you. Oh, such fun. So yes, I'm switching from Gabriella, ELLE, young.com to Gabriella, ELLA, young.love. So I think there's a lot on, there are testimonials on Gabriella Young.love. That's the new website. And but the articles you're referring to, Michael, are still on the old one. So you can play around. The old one will be up for a while yet while I'm transitioning. And Gabriella, I will just say, was the name given to me by Jalaluddin Rumi. And I was not looking to change my name. But when he came in my life, my name got changed and my whole life got restructured. And I immediately met a Persian conductor of a Persian orchestra on the streets of Bethesda, Maryland, who gave me my first musicians. Isn't that wild? I just say it's such a great story. But that is how the name Gabriella came in. And I remember standing on this corner, and this man said to me, Gabriella, because that was the first time I used it when he asked me my name, and it just came out of me. And he said, well, of course you know about the Archangel Gabriella and the Quran. And I said, Gabrielle, no, I actually don't. I'm familiar with the Archangel Gabriel through the wisdom that is Gnostic Christianity, and very precious to me. So then he gave me this download. Yeah. And so that's how the name Gabriella came. And I like the A, so I'm turning back to the A, not to confuse everybody, but, it was the divine masculine and feminine for decades. Now it's this union again with both. So thank you. Yeah. So that's my website. The current one is Gabriella, ELLA, young.love.
Thank you. And as soon as everything shifts in the world, I will be back to Sedona to spend time with precious you. And I'll bring my family and friends to watch you share and recite.
Well, thank you for your work, Michael. I don't mean to interrupt, but I have so enjoyed hearing your poetry and seeing your videos, because that's all new for me, right?
Yeah.
And I just, do I have 2 minutes?
Yes.
Well, I felt this just came through now, and I need to share it because it's like a full circuit for me. When I was 22, I taught for the first time at Parkland Junior College in Urbana, Illinois. And it was very last minute, but I had spent the summer reading all these amazing books, like, oh my gosh, that opened me compassionately so powerfully, like Eldridge Cleaver, Soul on Ice, Richard Wright's Black Boy, the autobiography of Malcolm X, and it went on and on. Yeah, so I was primed for this. So now I'm given this job very suddenly, teaching so-called remedial students because they couldn't write simple sentences, seemingly. Yeah, this is perfect to me. I'm the one, because I understand this. So I got these 3 classes, and I got to sit with these beauties. And there was a diversity from age 17. His name was Michael, and he became a poet in the class. He was a ghetto gang leader, and a university policeman sat next to him, the one called to the ghettos to quell the disturbances. And then businessmen from Magnavox. Yeah. So this diversity, Black militant from Philly. Yeah, it just went on and on. It was so great. And right the first day, this huge dude standing over me, he says, you can't teach us. What can you teach us? You don't know anything about our life. Perfect. I love ones that speak up. See, I'm on board for that. Speak up. So he did, and he's towering over me. Say, you can't teach us anything. I said, I know one thing. He said, what's that? You've been lied to. Wow. I say this to humanity now, to those who need to hear it that way. Pay attention. Be aware. Yeah, because it's a time of turning. So the whole class settled into the silence, sacred space. And these wonderful beings taught me so much. And I used music and art. I told them, don't pick up a pen unless your heart's on fire. I didn't know where that was coming from, but I said it. So then I played this amazing little thing, which I've never heard. It was called Jacques Brel is Alive and Well and Living in Paris. And I knew it was a genre they didn't know. And the second track was called The Bulls. And it was perfect. The Bulls get so bored when they're asked to show off for us. And then when they're asked to suffer for us. When they're asked to drop dead for us. Knowing what we did at Waterloo. Hiroshima, Saigon. So that's called intensity and immensity at the core of your being, right? If you really let that one in, however it lives for each of them. And this was still the tail end of Vietnam. So it was very ripe and rich, this diversity, very fecund. This is cosmic birthing. That's what we're going through now. So there's no better surgeon and there's no better wise one than the beloved within, who can teach you to deal with that level of immensity and intensity. And I told them to just listen. I remember it vividly. It changed my whole life. And then I played it again and said, pick up your pens if you feel it. Well, and I couldn't get to my car fast enough. I couldn't even drive home because I so wanted to read what had happened. And I just sobbed and sobbed. So everyone's depths can be opened. Yeah, it was beautiful. You've been lied to. It's over. Peace be with you. And infinite creativity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll definitely be there on 12/12.
Yeah.
I'm sending you love. Thank you for this. Thank you to Ty and Jade and Brother Todd for getting the tech for us.
Yes.
And thank you to beautiful, beloved you. And I can't wait to be in your presence again soon.
Yes. Thank you.
Sending you love. And thank you to everyone for hanging out with us and journeying with us this evening. I love you all.